in terms of, especially with this most recent situation where this group in Africa, Nigeria, Boko Haram, has perpetrated a crime against humanity by stealing, virtually stealing, and forcing into servitude over 200 plus, I'm not sure the actual number, but 200 plus Muslim girls and women. Now, this issue is a very sensitive one for me personally. And it's sensitive because of this point. Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, came into a time, see, Islam did not come in a vacuum, okay? It came as, and scripture itself came really responding to things that was taking place in society, okay? So for example, there was one of the companions of the prophet himself. He said, prior to the coming of the Quran, we did not hold women in high esteem. Prior to the coming of the Quran, we did not hold women in high esteem. Okay? So he was alluding to that the teachings of Islam in some way began to level the playing field. And Muhammad, he said himself, because education was such a key thing for equality and for people living he said, if any of you men, he was speaking to a gathering of men, consider this, if we were all, men for a moment. I know that's kind of strange, I guess he would say that, right? But, okay, let's imagine a group of men that all shared this mentality. That's really what I was getting to, okay? And he said to them, he said, if any of you men educate, see that two of your daughters are educated, well educated, you will earn the paradise, the heavens from God. Educate your daughters to earn heaven. This is a documented saying. So for this group, Boko Haram, to take a position that education is somehow illegal and they're against it and they're quoting some source in Islam, it's a total fabrication. It's a total fabrication. So when we say about, when you mention laws, the laws are man's laws. They're not God's laws. They're not God's laws. So people will come and try to enforce an idea or perpetuate an idea by sanctioning certain things or making certain things illegal and that sort of thing, and doing it in a way to keep people oppressed. In the history of this country, when my ancestors came here, it was illegal for me to read. That was systematic oppression. Because if I had a chance to educate and cultivate my mind, I could not be held captive by someone else trying to do so. We're seeing history right now repeating itself. Repeating itself. The players have changed, but the issue is still the same. It's still the same. So this is not an Islamic issue. This is the human condition imposing itself under the guise of Islam. But Islam does not sanction nor approve these kind of activities. Women driving and all this kind of, these are localized laws, but nothing that says, nothing in Islam says a woman can't drive, can't own her own business, can't lead head of state, can't be a scholar and whatever. She can achieve and have men serving her if she qualifies. If she qualifies for that. So nothing in Islam prohibits that.
Earlier this week, I made some comments about violence on the North Side. At the time when somebody rightfully challenged me, and I appreciate that challenge, I really do. When they rightfully challenged me about it, I apologized. And I thought about it afterwards, and I've thought about it ever since. And I thought, I wish I never would have said it to begin with. What I wanted to say is that for every measure of challenge that we have on the north side, and I think I mentioned it the other day, I've been a pastor there for 15 years. For every measure that's negative on the north side, I should have talked about the 10 other measures of incredible abundance of life. It's a place of enormous faith. It's a place where people truly, truly, in the deepest part of themselves, believe in their Christian faith, their Muslim faith, and they also have great quality of life in their families. And so, I apologize again completely. No excuses. What I should have talked about are all of these other 10. So, for those that I have offended by that, I'll say it once again from the deepest part of my heart. I'm sorry I said it. I'm sorry it gave the wrong impression.
I want to just clarify what I said, but I think it's a very important question that perhaps you can chime in on. To say that even in Scripture, all throughout Scripture, there it's mentioned, and just the history of man on this earth, there's always been some conflict or another. Some conflict or another. And we don't know a time. We don't know a time when when we say peace. I think we have a romantic notion of what peace is. You know, but peace is something that really starts and begins inside the person themselves. You know, and then it is a reflection, or it comes out in measure in the society and our interaction and so on and so forth. But there is not anything in my religious understanding of theology that I'm aware of, in the sense that there will be a point where everyone is okay with everyone at the same time. I don't share that belief. I don't. I think that the issue becomes one of when a society is healthy, it doesn't mean that it does not have conflict. It means that it has a means of dealing with the issue, of dealing with the conflict. There was a time that things were systematically done to where it took a long time for things to be recognized and so on. I think we're in a better place than we've ever been, but there's still so many numerous conflicts that it's hard for us to even talk about them all in one setting, you know? So in terms of the Messiah returning and that sort of thing, I'll let my colleagues chime in on that piece of it. But for me, I think if we have a very, you know, and I say this, you know, a very romantic idea of what peace is, or the reality of human life, then there will be no measure, nothing can happen that will equal that. You know what I mean? The idea of, like, you know, with these ideas, we have to make sure they're grounded in something. You know, the whole movie industry, or you know, give us an idea of the devil being a red guy, pitchfork, that sort of thing. You know, angels. So we carry these images around with us. But what if it isn't that way? What if it isn't that way? That means that we're basing reality upon something that is, well, maybe was concocted in the mind of a fairy tale. So I'm not answering your question per se, but I'm hopefully giving you a little more food for thought. There are different realities sometimes that are converging here. So, the Messiah.
So the Messiah.
We're not waiting for the Messiah. No.
I would say, again, this would be a more liberal or progressive interpretation of Christianity's thought about Messiah, but it is, I think, in one sense, closer to Judaism. We talk about messianic time of the Messiah, and what we mean by that is we believe Jesus was the Messiah, the promised one of God, and that because he's come, he's charged us with living his time, messianic time, the time of peace and justice and compassion, mercy, love, and forgiveness. You live that. You live that. Christians live that. And you are creating messianic time, calling for the coming, finally, of the Messiah. And you know, today, I'd put it this way, I'd say, it's really clear to me that in our society today, a lot of us can't talk to each other. It's in politics, it's in religion, it's in culture, you know, where you draw a line, you say, you know what, it's the end of this conversation. I know I'm right, I know you're wrong, and that's the end of it. That's conflict, and it's irresolvable, ego-oriented conflict. I think what messianic time is, you know what, I got to try to really respectfully listen to what you're saying and give you credit for what really helps me. I can disagree with you, but I cannot do it in such a way as to disrespect you. That's messianic time.
So in Judaism, the time of working towards the Messiah is based in a story, and that is that when God created the world, God needed to take if divinity is everywhere, needed to take the divine spirit in order to make room for the world. Put it into a vessel, a holy vessel, and the first time there was humanity's anger and hatred towards humanity, whether that was the Garden of Eden or other things, the vessel was destroyed and broken. And the vessel pieces, the shards are all over the world, all over the earth, all over the universe, and our job is to put the holy vessel back together so that there will be peace in the world. So there are two concepts here. Tzu, which is God pulling back in order to create human beings. That's how we have free will. We have the divinity in us, but there's free will in all of that. And then there's also tikkun olam, which is often misunderstood and misquoted as anything that's good or good works, but that really isn't what tikkun olam is. Tikkun olam is our repairing this vessel so that there will be the Messiah. So that's how the Messiah will come. We can bring the Messiah. So the works we do bring the Messiah to this world where there will be world peace. So it's to work together. So our two things don't have to in any way agree with each other because we're different traditions. So we don't have the belief that there'll be always conflict, that one day there won't be. So what I would say, and then I have to go, I'm sorry, is that tell me what isn't a miracle and tell me what is. Because are you talking about historic fact? And then what is that? Because 5 people can see the same thing happen and have different perspectives. Even in this class, I wasn't here when Michael O'Connell was talking about the North Side, but some of you were like, okay, others were, no. So when you say historic fact, like, do you believe in miracles? I understand what you're asking. I don't need any clarification. I understand. Do we believe in the parting of the Red Sea and the things that we think are just really, there's no way they can be true. I understand. I totally understand. But I guess I question science and math to know whether it's always true. It's our truth right now. But will it be our truth in 200 years? I guess for me, as a religious person and as a modern person as well, I don't get caught in, is that real, is it true? Because I think there are many kinds of truths and there are many kinds of realities. I don't need to prove that the Red Sea parted, even though some scholars can say that it was a certain situation on earth that made it happen and blah, 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 blah. I don't need, in my mind, to affirm that it actually happened the way that it was written, because for me that loses mystery. And I would much rather be in the world of mystery over mastery. Mastery is knowing that it's right and being able to say this is it. That's not as interesting to me. That's why I'm in the world of religion and not in the world of science. Although I think scientists who are true scientists are much more open to mystery than mastery as well as mathematicians. Because mathematicians will take it all the way to the end to where there is no answer. That's where I live. I live in the margins of this world where there are no answers. That's why I'm a rabbi, that's why I'm a religious person, and that's what I love to dabble in. I don't need everything fixed, and I don't need everything explained, because I've been at the bedside of people who've been diagnosed with the same exact cancer. One of them dies and the other doesn't, and I don't know why.
And relative to the question about miracles, in Islamic, understanding, in my understanding of Islam, there are certain things that are, that we would say, did the Red Sea part, or did these things happen? I think that we are conditioned to trust there should never come a time where our belief, or what we are given to believe, disrespects our intelligence. The beliefs are not, because we believe that God also gave us our intelligence, our capacity to think, to reason, etc. So if I'm presented with something, especially something in Scripture from a religious context, about the parting of the sea and that sort of thing, do I accept it? Yes, I do accept it. Now, does that mean that this happened to me, that this was a literal thing that happened, or was this something that is a metaphor for something bigger that has taken place? And we have come to the place, and our understanding is that if what is presented to me is beyond the scope of human beings, it's outside of the scope of reality, meaning I know I can't walk on, I can't. So this must mean something more. There must be a higher meaning to this. I'm not denying that this took place. It's a container by which wisdom comes forth out of it as well too. If you think about the story of Moses and the situation, how he came to the parting of the sea, what was taking place. He was being pursued, and sometimes we come to a situation in our lives where there's no other way to go. There's nowhere else to go. And seemingly a way is made for you. A way is made for you through your faith. A way is made, something is opened up for you, an opportunity to go forth when in your mind and everything your reality said nothing was there. That happens all the time in the life of faithful people. It happens all the time. So is that a way to look at that, or a context to see that? I think so. I think so. So do I deny them? No. Do I accept them literally? Not necessarily. Is there a higher meaning? I believe that to be the case. I believe there's something else I should be gathering from this. Raise your hand if you've seen Lion King. Okay, there you go. Okay, now I get something for you. You remember when Mufasa, right, and Simba, they were looking over the Pride Land, and he said, "Dad, don't we own the Pride Land?" He said, "Yes." Like can't we go and get the antelope if we want it? Yeah, but everything has its order. Everything has its time, etc. Now, were they really talking to each other? No. But did he establish a truth? Was there something greater being said there? Yes. Yes. And that bears itself out. So we're going to live a shallow life. A shallow life if everything that has to be literally proven for us to be accepting of. That's really not to have a faith in the grandest sense of the term. Okay? Are we out of time?
We are out of time, and you guys have to get to the airport. Yeah. So.